It's a brand new week, and what better way to begin your Monday morning than with some business and everything in between? This is Business Express brought to you by InterSwitch on a Monday morning here on the Smooth Breakfast, Smooth 98.1 Love Music, Love Life. It's 32 minutes past 6 a.m. It's the 16th day of June 2025. The second half of the month is already in full gear. My name is Ayokunmi. Great to have you join us in a brand new week. Great to be here with you and start talking about business related matters. It is going to be a session where you get to have your say as well, which means you can send in your messages on WhatsApp. That is 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 That is the WhatsApp number. You can also keep up with us on YouTube. You can find us at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Those are the ways you can join us this morning on the show. We're talking about the CBN. Yes, they have temporarily halted dividends and bonuses for certain banks. And to give us a better understanding of what exactly that means and what is going on, I'm being joined by Bala Augie. He is the editor and, of course, a partner at MoneyCentral. Very good morning to you, Bala. Great to have you on the show once again.
Yeah, good morning.
Absolute pleasure to have you with us on a Monday. Now, talking about this, let us start at the beginning because this is going to be one where we get educated or schooled, anyhow you want to look at it. Can you define what exactly it means when we say regulatory forbearance? What does that mean?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Regulatory forbearance is a temporary suspension or relaxation of certain regulations by the government or regulatory body during times of economic hardship or crisis.
That's a simple definition in a
Yeah, very,
nutshell.
very simple, very straightforward.
Okay, straightforward. Okay, now bearing that in mind, why exactly is the CBN telling banks under regulatory forbearance to do the following things to stop paying dividends to shareholders, to stop paying bonuses to senior management, to stop investing in foreign subsidiaries as well? What exactly is going on behind the scenes to have led to all this?
Yeah, basically, the CBN wants to um, ensure that the balance sheet of banks are strengthened, and it also wants to ensure that banks maintain the capital buffer, right? That's to also ensure that banks have a very strong capital adequacy ratio in light of rising inflation, depreciation in the foreign exchange, basically. So the CBN is trying to take a precautionary measure to ensure that the banks are impervious to microeconomic headwinds.
Hmm. Okay, is this something that is common for the CBN to do, or is it a situation that comes up in, should I say, special circumstances only?
Yeah, it comes up as special circumstances only, and it is not. It's not new. It's not strange. Even the central bank across Europe takes certain measures when,
Okay,
in the time of economic downturn. If you
right.
remember, during COVID-19, the European Central Bank told banks to suspend dividend. European banks to suspend dividend during
Mm,
COVID because of those crises. So it's not there's no cause for alarm. The CBN just wants to ensure that banks are strong, banks are stable, they can meet the capital requirement. So their capital adequacy ratio is strong, so that depositors' monies are safe.
okay, so looking at all this right now, what exactly is the implication for the banks in question who have been affected, or should I say, impacted by this?
There are no major indications implications anyway. It's just that it could probably unnerve investors, unnerve investors who probably uh, 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 await dividend payments. Basically, a lot of bank investors, sorry, bank shareholders expect dividend, but now that CBN is putting a temporary suspension, so let's wait and see how the market reacts to the CBN's announcement.
Mm, okay, I'm glad you mentioned shareholders because I'm going to come back to them in a moment. I'm just curious. Looking at regulatory forbearance here, I mean, in the looking at how it is affecting banks in Nigeria, is there a time frame for it? Is it an indefinite thing? Is it okay for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year? Is there usually a time frame for it, or it's indefinite?
No, there's usually a time frame. There's usually a
Okay.
time frame. It cannot be indefinite. There's a time frame, and it's usually a very short time frame where after which the regulator is sure that these banks can meet the capital buffers. There's a time frame for it. It's
Okay.
not infinite.
Okay. Glad to actually clear that one. Okay, now back to shareholders, investors, and co. Now, would it be fair to say that shareholders of the affected banks will not be pleased to not be receiving, any dividends at this time?
Yeah, basically, you and I know that dividends is an income to shareholders. What I mean,
Right.
it's a cash income to shareholders, and it's shareholders expect to be paid part of the distributable profit of a company. So basically, shareholders will not be happy that there's been a temporary suspension on dividend because they usually expect this income. So it will definitely unnerve shareholders. It will spook shareholders or net shareholders or probably investors.
Hmm. Okay, now ultimately, like you mentioned, this is temporary. So the very big question is, will this actually work? I mean, if you stop paying dividends and bonuses, and that money is used to shore up capital with the intended mission, would it actually be accomplished at the end of the day?
It will definitely be accomplished. It will be accomplished. I'm optimistic, and even the central bank knows what it is doing. And like I told you earlier on, it's not new. Even central bankers across Europe do it sometimes. Even during COVID. Just to ensure that the banks are safe, their capital is strong, and they are impervious to macroeconomic headwinds. That's our economic downturn.
Okay, so ultimately, this is just something that is done by the central bank in terms of stepping in to make sure that banks, you don't do any harm to yourselves, you don't go under, and so on and so forth, basically.
Exactly, exactly, exactly.
Okay, now, according to reports, banks actually have until March of 2026 to reach the new minimum capital thresholds from the CBN. Do you think, the banks in Nigeria are going to make that deadline?
In light of what is happening at the moment, banks, recent times banks have been going through what I call regulatory headwinds, right? There's been a lot of regulations on banks. So whether they're going to make that 2026 capitalization threshold all depends on the market perception, right?
Okay.
Because the suspension, the forbearance coming in now is coming in even as banks are expected to meet the new minimum capital threshold. So it's some banks will meet it, but I'm optimistic that the big five banks will meet the threshold. I'm optimistic because they are
Mm.
raising capital at the moment.
Right. So when all is said and done, the smaller banks who are not able to actually meet that deadline will have to figure out the next best thing, maybe mergers and so on and so forth. Is that correct?
Exactly, exactly. Mergers, they may opt for merger, absorption, and acquisition.
Mm. Interesting, interesting. Okay, so when all this is said and done, what would be your assessment of Nigeria's banking sector at the moment?
Yeah, my assessment basically is that there is relative stability in the sector. The banks are looking the banks are strong in terms of their capital, in terms of their earnings. If you look at in the last 3 years or 5 years, banks have been growing their earnings income, even their profits have been growing, and they've been able to pay dividends. So basically, my assessment of the banking sector is that they are not in hot waters. There's relative stability in the sector. The banks are doing well, especially the big banks. Even the small banks are doing well. They are paying dividends. Earnings are growing steadily.
And it's likely that that trend is going to continue for the foreseeable future, right?
Well, that depends on the macroeconomic environment anyway. That
Mm,
depends on the interest rate continues to, because banks have benefited from the high interest rate environment, right? So that has enabled them to earn relatively high net interest income. So if interest rate continues to, if the central bank continues its tightening stance and already there's the only issue is that they are no longer making gains from foreign
okay.
exchange revaluation as they used to. Banks made a lot of
Mm,
money from foreign exchange they made a lot of foreign exchange revaluation gains immediately after the
okay.
central bank immediately after the central bank devalued the currency in 2023. So they made a lot of money in 2023, 2024. But now the FX gains are reducing because there is relative stability in the foreign exchange market.
Right, right. Interesting. Okay, but as we begin to wrap up on this conversation, this final question is actually for the investors out there. I mean, from your perspective, do you think banking stocks are still the cream of the crop in Nigeria?
Yeah, banking stock are still the cream of the crop because if you look at the banks, they are trading at an attract they have attractive valuation. A lot of banks are trading at attractive and price to earning multiples. If you look at their PE ratio, a lot of banks are trading at PE ratio less than 5, even less than 4. And if you also so it's one sector that has the highest dividend yield. So when you look at the PE ratio, attractive valuation, you look at the dividend yield. So that indicates that the banks are still the cream of the crop. Their stocks are relatively cheap compared to other sectors.
Right, great stuff. So for all the investors out there, that is some information that you should use wisely. All right. And on that note, we need to bring a close to the show this morning. It has been an interesting one. We've been looking at Nigeria's central bank halting dividend payouts for certain banks, and Bala Augie has been walking us through this one. He's an editor and partner at Money Central. Thank you so much, Bala, for joining me this morning.
You're welcome, sir.
All right, do have yourself a great Monday and a great week as well.
Yeah, well, thank you.
All right, Lagos. Thank you so much for being a part of the show this morning, brought to you by Into Switch. Keep it tuned to the Smooth Breakfast. This is Smooth 98.1. Don't go anywhere. All right.